Hello and welcome to MorningFile. I'm your host, Emma McCarty, and today I am joined with Jay Burr to discuss the Dundas Music Club. So to start, just how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
That's good. So I guess maybe just starting with the elephant in the room, the pandemic. What has the Dundas Music Club been doing since the pandemic began?
Well, we have a 6-year plus history of having events in the Oddfellows Hall in Dundas, live, traditionally, of course, but since March, I think it was March 25th, after the dictum came down of like lockdown, that was slated to be the open mic. It was the third Wednesday of every month, and that happened to be the third Wednesday, and it was called. And then eventually, me and my co-creator and co-host Danny Medikovich decided, well, why don't we do it? Most everyone is online via social media, so why don't we do it via a watch party? Mm-hmm. And now that has run virtually weekly for the past 6.5, 7 months.
Yeah, I guess everybody and any sort of entertainment type of thing had to really take a step back and have a big shift over into online type things.
Yeah, I'm a professional musician. I have been my entire life, and we know what happened to the way of the arts in the wake of the pandemic. So yes, it's a very sobering and incapacitating thing to people working in the arts. So
yeah. So like you said, you've had several online events going on over the course of the last several months. What has the community response been to this, or how have you guys as a club really taken to that?
Well, in all honesty, we have seen the number, if not number of participants, because we have to take into account some people are perhaps more savvy and able to do recording themselves and post that stuff online, but a lot of people that may be older aren't quite as adept at doing that. So it is something that's shown the people that have those skills have stepped right up to the plate and become totally creative, and we're talking like people multi-tracking themselves and making full-on performances with other people too, collaborating, all the rest of that. And of course now with it being weekly means the event is populated regularly, and everyone has a chance to do a song, because in real life we were really limited at a certain point in time with having 28 to 30 performers a night. You can really only have people do one song, because other than that, our 4-hour time slot just goes right by, and then next thing you know, it's a bit too much. So we've seen an intensely creative period for a lot of people that are savvy with the technology and that work within those mediums and confines. Sadly, we also lose a lot because, as perhaps you might know, and as others might, that are akin to live music and live things happening and performing in front of others and being in a collegial, warm atmosphere. It's a bit different being on screens. So
yeah, so kind of just going off of that, there's maybe a silver lining in the fact that people can go online and you can have more people performing, but then at the same time you lose out on other performances. So have you then, would you say, seen a change in demographic at all with people being able to maybe be more tech savvy than others?
Yes, I do. I believe that there are some people that unfortunately will be left out of the loop because of the technological gaps. That said, it's pretty small, in all honesty.
Okay.
It's marginal at best. What we do see is a lot more people participating, I believe. And one of the reasons I would say that is plausible and possible is because there's a very different thing recording yourself on a device from standing up on a stage in front of a lot of people and having to bare your heart and soul and all your inadequacies. right? We don't, most all of us are our own worst critics. So the red light fever of your camera or of your iPad or whatever device you're recording to is a lot less hostile than standing up in front of a crowd and potentially making mistakes and falling on your face. And that's another thing I have to add, that one of the things we've always stressed, and the thing that Danny and I, when we first started this, was we wanted to create an environment that allowed all of these things to take place, people to take chances. And this is yet another casualty of not being able to interact together in live persons, because there's a lot of musicians there, right? And so we have an impromptu band that's ready to play and support others all the time. Every time we got together, there would be impromptu things where I'm playing drums, or someone else comes up and plays guitar with it, or saxophone, or flute, violin, trombone, tuba, you name it, right? So that whole supportive aspect is what we had kind of drawn upon as the base of what we wanted to create, a safe space for people that were able to create and be able to present themselves, right? So it's morphed and evolved, but it's not necessarily for the worse. It's just like anything else. It's just changed. Yeah.
I mean, you've maybe lost the sense of like community and closeness that you could have had in person, but then gained maybe like more of a comfortableness that you're behind a camera. I know even with my job, like, sure, I'm not playing music or bearing my soul type of thing, but I have found it easier to ease in to these types of interviews, even just being behind a screen.
Yeah, I can understand that. And to be honest, it's a lot less stressful staring in front of a screen. And, less but participatory. And the other thing that I will add to that is our numbers have grown like exponentially. We used to have about 300 people in the club that were part of the social media net and that were interconnected. And now we're upwards of 700 people.
Wow.
So.
Yeah.
And some are participants, some are just people that want to watch and that want to be voyeurs to what's going on.
Yeah, that's amazing, because now you have a bigger reach because it's online. So then, kind of just tying up the portion of the interview that I was going to talk about, the Dundas Music Club. Where can people go to access the online events, or if they want to be a part of the online events?
Well, to keep it kind of not being, to keep it from being polluted with outsiders that are trying to sell us Ray-Ban glasses or whatever else, we have an ask policy, right? So you have to send a request to be able to join, and then it's vetted by Danny or myself as administrators to let these potential people in. So it's a closed group, but it's open to people if they demonstrate that you're actually a person and not a bot, or trying to sell us something or be a shill or a tout for something, then you'll be allowed in.
Okay, and they would just have to email then?
The Dundas Music Club Oddfellows Hall is our page on Facebook, and that's where you would send a request, find that page, send a request to join, and we'll likely let you in.
Okay. So you mentioned that you are a musician yourself, and you've recently released new music. Did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I actually just have my CDs and T-shirts arrived today.
Oh, wow.
So it's been a very busy day. I'm a lifelong musician. I did an undergraduate at McGill and a grad degree at York, and have been performing music since like performing as a professional, 1988.
Oh, wow.
So I come by it honestly. I've done it my entire life. And Danny is more recreational, although Danny Medikovich, my co-host, is also a great musician and great songwriter. And we both released material. I've just released my album. Of course, I can't have a physical CD release, but quite happy to have it. It was something that I did because of COVID-19.
Oh, really?
And if you let me elucidate, I'll let you know why. Because when you work in the arts and in the gig economy, because I also worked at McMaster,
Mm-hmm.
and worked as a musician, working nightly, as much as one can humanly do, spend so much time trying to just go from job to job and work to work to be able to make that income, that you have to quite often put artistic pursuits aside, like creating music and recording content and doing things like that. So I've been procrastinating making an album for the better part of my life because I'm so busy chasing the dollar. And here, COVID summer came, and I had written a whole bunch of songs, both for the DMC and some that are upwards to 10 or 15 years old, that it was like, okay, I have the time to be able to do this. So I spent 2 months recording, writing, performing, recording, mixing, editing, mastering, and all the rest of it, and playing all the instruments.
Wow. So you've been busy.
Yeah. Save for a couple of favors by a couple of friends. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So what would you then say? I guess you have so many songs that span over the course of decades, really, but what would you say is maybe the feel or the vibe of the album?
Interesting. Well, there's songs of desperation, and there's songs of hope. There's songs of love, and there's songs of kind of reconciliation, and that there's a thread of hope that we can make it through this, because we as people are better and stronger than all the problems that surround us.
Mm-hmm. Which is, so important to get out right now, even.
Mm. Yeah, there's songs of unrequited love. There's songs some that are comical and not to be taken too seriously. Yeah.
So what has it been like then releasing an album during COVID?
Without being able to do a physical release, that means one has to work a bit harder and get a bit more creative in terms of being able to support it, because traditionally when you record an album, you have a record releases the number one time that you actually make a dent in selling your merchandise and your product.
Mm-hmm.
Having a physical record release traditionally has meant the highest sales you're going to make on that particular project. That has died somewhat, of course. Our age, and me showing my age, CDs are basically a thing of the past in
mm-hmm.
most young people's lives. I've also released it on Bandcamp, which I saw a week ago today, and has seen some moderate sales, of course. But most people really like the digital thing. But there are a lot of people still that have vehicles like us, and that have a CD player in the vehicle, and that's one of the places that I spend the most of my time. If I listen to a CD, it's usually driving. If I listen to music, it's when I'm driving. Other than that, I don't listen to music personally.
That's interesting.
Unless I'm shedding for a gig, which I used to do. But keep in mind, though, it's a very different situation, Emma, when you spend your entire life immersed in music.
Mm-hmm.
Is when given the chance, I'd rather listen to the wind blowing the trees and the water than listen to music.
Yeah,
because it's a job, right? It's been a job for 35 years. Yeah,
that's an interesting perspective. I never would have even as a non-musician thought about that. You're just always immersed in music. So
mm-hmm.
when given
in most situations, sorry to interrupt, in most situations, when I'm listening to music, I'm shedding to be able to learn tunes for gigs, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have to listen to select tunes and write down parts and make sure I bring my A game to when we're playing.
Yeah.
So much for that now.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Hopefully sooner rather than later, but
mm-hmm.
who knows with what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So then my last question for you is, where can people who are interested in finding the album find the album?
Well, for those that like the digital format and the download format, I will make my last kind of plea to people that I put it up on Bandcamp
mm-hmm.
as a digital platform. I am not putting my my sweat and all that equity to the streaming platforms like Spotify, Pandora, Deezer, etc., which are basically just parasites, making money off our hard-earned sweat and our backs. And for the people that don't know, I'll just let them know that the fractions of cents. It would take 1,000 spins for me to make a penny on my stuff. So I do not support those parasitic platforms. So Bandcamp, you can find my material at with N.J. Burr, first initial, and I also have physical copies with me and T-shirts that people can get. Can email me, because you can find that information on Bandcamp, and you can email me. And I just got up doing deliveries today. A lot of deliveries and lots of orders for the close family. Lots of people from the DMC, lots of other musicians and artists and such. So, yeah.
That was the end of my questions. I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Well, I would just like to move a little bit further on for those that don't understand the reality of an industry. Like there used to be a music industry, right? like an actual music industry. We were given the kind of hobbled when things moved towards lack of being able to sell your product, right? Used to be, okay, you could make money playing, and then you couldn't really make that much money playing. Then you could rely on being able to make albums and sell albums. Now you can't really make and sell albums. And now streaming has come to the point where they've really taken the legs out from under what was an industry for most any independent, and even people that are mid-level artists, people that are pretty much, if not household names, Canadian names that are well-known, etc., are no longer able to make a living through sales, right? So sales have evaporated, and we're kind of flogging a bit of a dead horse with making CDs. I remember being able to sell. I've recorded on hundreds of albums with various artists, as far away as San Francisco and Whitehorse and New York and everything else, for people that contact me for what I do, because I'm a tuba player and by trade and by profession. And now, if there's no remuneration to be able to make any money from recording material, it makes it very hard for anyone to spend any money or have a budget to record an album. So we're seeing things change. It is an evolution, of course, and hoping that there's some happy ending to the back end of what it is to make money, because when you rely on it as a profession, exposure doesn't pay the bills or put a roof over your head. So we're at a time now where hopefully we will see some things change, and hopefully some of these other operations, maybe the streaming services, actually care to pay artists what they're worth instead of making billions on our backs.
Even adding on to that, like streaming services have taken money away from artists, but then when you add in COVID, artists can't even put on shows or make money from like different revenues, which really
And this is what this is really what's hobbled us now. As before, it's like, okay, well, you can't sell that much, but you can still play music and still support it through doing shows, having merch, touring, etc. No, that's now all gone. And we're in a very changed landscape. But with a cautiously optimistic attitude, I look forward to. I'm looking forward to what will happen if we happen to see. Not just the people, but the governments and other operating assistants to understand how important the arts sector is, because it's not just music. In the film industry, they can't get insurance to shoot now, to be able to do like location shoots in places. You can't have orchestras playing. You can't have choirs. Both my children are in one's in the Hamilton Youth Philharmonic Orchestra, and the other's in the Hamilton Children's Choir, and they can't participate. They can't sing out in public. They can't participate on that level anymore. So hopefully, the interest it piques people's interest and their concern that we need to look at arts in a different way as opposed to folly. It's more than just folly. It's essential to our lives. How would you get through this pandemic if you didn't have Netflix to turn to, or you didn't have your favorite music that you could play, or the rest of the arts-based literature that you read, all the rest of the stuff that's created by artists?
Yeah.
It's what takes you away from this hostile reality that we're in right now.
Yeah, and hopefully, maybe the pandemic can shed some light on the fact that those types of things aren't getting the recognition that they need, and we can see how useful that they are and the benefits they add to society.
Correct. Productive dialogue is what I hope. That's what I'm hoping for.
That was Jay Burr from the Dundas Music Club. To learn more about the Dundas Music Club and what they're up to, you can click the link below. For more content like this, you can visit cfmu.ca/videos.